This is the biggest object I've ever had to look for in my 21 years of metal detecting. This features a Douglas DC-3 Dakota which crashed near Swindon on the 25th of March 1944. This aircraft, flown by J.H. Sanderson, was involved with a collision with a Dakota from down AMPNEY, flown by Sergeant Moody. As you can see, this particular plane, which I photographed at Lynham a few years ago, is done in the livery of down AMPNEY, and I believe it features the plane flown by Dave Lord, who actually won the VC at Arnhem. When his plane was badly shot up, he delivered all his supplies and was subsequently killed in the crash. The plane, which was lost in the practices for the D-Day landings, landed up in this field belonging to Doug Clifford of the old Clifford's farm there at the Pry. The older guys call it the Pry, and you can see Swindon in the background there, and on the foreground where the flooding is, this is where the plane come to rest. It sadly, the 5 crew on board the plane were killed, and the farmer asked me before the field was developed if it would be okay if I give it a quick metal detector survey. As you can see, the dip in the field there, is the little depression there, is where the plane come to rest. He scooted along the field, and the nose of the plane smashed into the hedge, where that gap there is still visible today. And it was during the searching this that the farmer and I were very pleasantly surprised to start finding remains of the aircraft. Here you see the first piece to come up was this large battery terminal. You can see there's some letters there, if I can just get him in focus there, DCR, and you can see this chunky piece of lead would have formed part of the battery terminal, and that would have been part of the battery itself there, leading down into the cell, with a little bit of the black plastic for the battery box. Obviously a lot of acid would have dripped out the bottom of the plane, and shortly afterwards I managed to locate the only coin in the field, a 1919 penny. You turn him over, you can see it's got acid damage on the bust there. Usually these coins, they come up pretty well from pasture fields, but because of this is the crash damage penny, you can see what the acid has done to him. This might have been certainly dropped by one of the crew there flying the plane, possibly J.H. Sanderson himself. A very interesting little find. And from the hedge, this piece came up, which I immediately recognised as part of a plane. You can see the rivets, pretty good condition. The grey paint of the underside of the aircraft visible, and still got the dirt on there. You can see there's been a fairly bit of brute force applied to that piece of structure of the aircraft. And subsequently searching the field itself revealed this large component. As you can see, it's got like the dome rivets there are painted in a bluish grey colour, obviously sky camouflage, and with the corrosion, turn them over, and you've got most of the green paint still intact, including a number there, which probably doesn't relate to anything specific, but it's probably like a foundry number, or the plane might have gone together as a jigsaw. But you can see, you scan across, this is about 9 inches long, you can see the ragged damage that occurred when the plane skidded along the field, and when it hit the hedge there, it ripped the engines out of the plane, and obviously the impact killed the 5 crew. And you can see there's another piece there. There's most of the greens intact with a little bit of a logo inside. and the rivets are still holding that piece of aluminium there. Yeah, very poignant. You know, the farmer is very happy for me to find these pieces. He was curious for years what was remaining in that field, because when he was a boy, about 5 weeks after the incident, from the hedge that I just showed you, he pulled a reflector, a bulkhead light reflector, which had come from the inside of the plane, and had managed to sort of like find itself in the hedge, and it had been missed by the people who come to write off the aircraft and break it up, because obviously it's not classed as a war grave or anything, fortunately. I was able to go along and recover some more 70 years later, but this is a large piece, about 10 inches long, part of a wing root, I believe, still maintaining most of its paint there. And we come to some interesting items. This is a radio mount made of rubber, and is still very flexible today. Initially I didn't think this was of any age, but looking at him, it's got the word sort of Bendix on the bottom there. Bendix, denoting American manufacture. As you can see, there's an aluminium disc on the top there to mount the equipment, and it's held in place by a washer. And the thing is still flexible. You can still use this today. Remarkable little find. A wing. This is a whole catch for possibly the window that the pilot may have been looking out of. As you can see, it still functions. Well, there's black lacquered paint there. Most of the paint's chipped off, but possibly due to the acid. Because when you find things real at hedge, there would have been fuel, and there would have been all sorts of nasties there, oil and battery acid. A brass tap was also found in the field a few hundred yards away. This could have come from the tap out of the base of the plane, but we're not sure. It's got a little H stamped on there, so it's made of brass or bronze. And this rudder pedal, possibly the greatest find of all, shows a few chassis numbers there, or cast numbers, with the word Alcoa visible, proving that you're dealing with actually an aircraft part. As you can see, pretty well there, isn't he? Amazing little find. Probably the best find of the week I spent searching the field. The paint pretty well intact. A Morse key, or what's left of him. The old navigator would have been punching out the emergency there. Say the remains of the button there. And the terminals. Most amazing little find. Right in the hedge. And also, probably the most poignant part of all, I managed to find the part of the control column, the piece that the pilot would have been gripping. You can see the metal reinforcing rods, and badly cracked plastic, and the grips, the hand grips. You can still grip that now, and you can imagine, if you close your eyes, you could probably go back and you can imagine those poor J.H. Sanderson gripping that wheel and making that forced landing. Very poignant, and that would have caused a fatal injury in itself. But to say, the last piece to come up was this green, finding these green bits with Alcoa on, which proves that you're dealing with an aircraft incident of some description. And this document here, which was given me by Hartley, it was Alan Hartley from the AMPNEY Association. This proved beyond all doubt that this was a page from the Squadron book showing the details of the incident there. 25th of March 1944, accident. Flight Sergeant Sanderson calls in accident at BLUNSDON. Dakota flown by Sergeant Moody collided with Dakota flown by Flight Sergeant Sanderson, causing the latter to lose control and dive straight in. Sergeant Moody brought his aircraft safely back to base, although slightly damaged. All personnel in Flight Sergeant Sanderson's aircraft were killed, including Flight Sergeant Shakespeare, who was on a... he was not supposed to be on the plane. He was doing a bit of a day trip there, which was acceptable at the time. Also, his push bike was found by the wreckage of the plane. Sergeant Fennell, navigator. As I say, Flight Sergeant J.H. Sanderson was the pilot. Leading aircraftsman Stone, H.A., FMA. AC2 Winder, J.FME. AC2 Markey, J.E. FME. Very, very sad tale. This proves beyond all doubt. I mean, this was obviously very classified at the time, this information, but Alan Hartley made it available to me so that I could make the short film. Nothing much remains of the airfield today. It was dug up for a motorway in 1960, the M4 motorway. This is down AMPNEY today. Part of the airstrip remains, pointing to Fairford there, and the other side to Cricklade. This memorial was set up some years later for the crew. As you can see, this was like on one of the anniversaries, and it shows a plaque dedicated to the what went on at 271 Squadron there, including the 271 Dakota, which was lost in this field. The plaque detail there describes what happens from this airfield in 1944-95. Douglas Dakotas from 48 and 271 Squadron's RAF Transport Command carried the 1st and 6th Airborne Divisions, units of the Air Dispatch Regiment and Horsa gliders, flown by the Glider Pilots Regiment, to Normandy, Arnhem and on to the Rhine crossing in 1945. It says at the bottom, "We will remember them," and I certainly will. I mean, I found the whole thing fascinating on a metal detecting point of view. I mean, you're dealing with very recent history, but very, very poignant, really. I did it from memory of the crew, and Alan Hartley from the Down AMPNEY Association was able to fill me in on the crew details, and ultimately I'll give them to Cricklade Museum along with the artefacts I found. This is, if you went to a hard standing, you would find this memorial to the people which were lost, particularly on the training missions, which there was numerous throughout the country, but also due to the massive losses which was occurred at Arnhem. Truly atrocious. I hope you enjoyed this video, and you know, it's nice to remember, although they didn't get any credit at the time, those boys on that Dakota practicing for the Normandy landings a few weeks later. You know, they could have been Victoria Cross winners themselves, but people like that made it all possible, really, for us to live in you know, peace today and freedom. We will remember them. Thank you very much.